This week on Gymwright Live, we teach you a simple yet effective way to build a referral program that actually works. Check it out. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Gymwright Live. I am your host, Marcus Gurzy, and with me today again this week is the lovely Miss Jessica Webster.
Hi guys.
Thank you so much for joining us again this week. Jessica, we've got something pretty fun to share today. We're going to be breaking down the referral programs and really digging into how easy it is to build one that actually works great. The way that most people tend to approach it is kind of a bass-backwards approach. So we're going to break all that down to you today and really get into the anatomy of a healthy refer a friend program.
Okay, great. So first, I was thinking we could get into why this matters for gym owners, as usual. First of all, I love the Gymwright Live podcast. It's always on a Friday, and I was just thinking, like, why am I always in such a good mood when this thing happens? I love a Friday. Anyway.
I agree. It makes Fridays even better.
All right, back to the topic besides Friday. Word of mouth marketing is kind of intertwined in this idea of a referral program. And so I think the first thing that we should do is figure out what the difference is between a referral program and word of mouth marketing. So there was a recent study last year of about 8,000 small business owners, and they were surveyed to find out what they thought was the best way to get in local customers. We had paid advertisements on their radio, like online marketing, all kinds of things. And 85% of business owners said that word of mouth marketing is the way to go. It's the way to bring in local customers. And so essentially word of mouth marketing is offering a great service and kind of hoping for the best sometimes, which can be a little bit too passive and just not very consistent.
Right. Yeah. And, when you're in the service business like we are in the gym business, it's the most common thing we hear. It's like, what are you doing to currently market or grow your business? And it's, I just rely on word of mouth. And, and a lot of people say, it is the best way, like you said, that, to get new members and get people in the door. And yes, that's true, but you can't rely on it, like you said, from a passive standpoint. You've got to be proactive. And what we're going to do today is we're going to show you how to create something that you can very simply put together and implement and introduce to existing members and new members as they come in, so that it is something that becomes a part of their process, that they learn about it, that it's appealing to them. And we're going to even break down like how to design one that works around what you've got going on. So yeah, taking a proactive approach to your referrals rather than just kind of sitting by and hoping that they're going to, your members are going to tell everyone they know and you're just going to have a line out the door is kind of a weak approach.
Right. So the first call to action I would ask for you guys to do before we get into any of this more systemized approach is perfect your local listing, because there are people out in your community talking about your service and your gym, and that what they need to do now after they hear about your business is go online and find your business. I'm just going to make the assumption that people aren't carrying around like your email address on them or your website. So they're going to be Googling you. So you really need to perfect your NAP or your name, address, and phone number on all of your local directories. And the way to do that would be to reference our SEO show that we did a couple months ago. Mm-hmm. And you can find that at blog.gymwright.com. And it's kind of a quick podcast on how you can perfect your local SEO for people that are talking about you and need to find you. Secondly, I thought it would be important to talk about how our industry kind of differs from a lot of other small local businesses when it comes to word of mouth marketing. So while having people out in your community talking about your business is awesome, like most business owners would agree, you also have to realize that the effectiveness of this word of mouth strategy is different from industry to industry. So like Marcus, before we got on this call, you were just telling me about the cellar down the street from you. It's a great restaurant that you've discovered and you love. It's really easy to tell me that it's a great place to go. It's a really simple sales message. Like they have good food, that's it. Whereas for our industry, this CrossFit-y type thing, to the uninitiated person, it's this really intense kind of scary experience. And even at the moment where people feel like it's a great way to explain what they're doing, they're really not set up to know how to explain CrossFit for the first time. So right. Like if you think that word of mouth marketing is really working for you right now, just dare to imagine how many conversations are going terribly wrong, Right. Like any one that works, there's probably like 50 that are going horribly wrong. So We're going to go through the strategy right now to help you guys try to systemize that and get a little bit more control over that process.
Right. So all you gym owners out there, how many times have you had a member or someone that's been training with you for some time and you hear them explain, what it is that you do or how this thing works, and you're just like, oh, what did you just say? No, hold on. I got to jump in. He meant well. That's not right. And the problem is that when you're depending on passive word of mouth marketing, is that you're assuming that everyone is going to be able to sell it as well as you can. And the reality is that no one is going to do as good of a job of understanding where people are, meeting them where they're at, explaining to them in a way that they're actually going to understand it so that they can see the value and not put you in the same bucket as a 24-hour fitness or as a, whatever other program they're familiar with. So we want to make sure we have the opportunity to do that ourselves rather than letting them kind of wing it. So, all right, cool. Anything else you want to jump into or talk about before we get into the nuts and bolts of this thing?
Yeah. So really quickly, why does any of this matter? If a word of mouth marketing strategy can be inconsistent and we're talking down on it a little bit, having a good referral strategy is actually super, super important because there are a lot of great benefits that it brings to your business. Mm-hmm. First of all, it's low cost. Referrals cost almost nothing to acquire. So you're not paying for ads. If you have an email automation system and a client management system, which you all probably do have, then the tools you need to set this up the right way are likely already there. Mm-hmm. And the cost of the referral might only just be an incentive or a gift, which we'll talk about later. The next thing is you start at a higher point of trust. So when you meet a potential new member for the first time, you need to show up trustworthy, and people have had a lot of weird gym trainer experiences in the past, and there is no better way to show up trustworthy than if you've gotten the introduction from somebody that they already trust. So that's a way to access that relationship there.
100%.
I would say the next thing would be the cost of the membership is usually less of an issue for these people. So when you work from referrals, people are almost always willing to pay a little bit more when you've been recommended by somebody that they trust. Actually, if a significant component of your business is referrals, you can probably charge more for your service than for a business who operates more on like cold leads.
100%. A referral is the highest quality lead that we can get, right? Hands down. There's no marketing, advertising, funnel, gimmick on the planet that is more effective than someone they trust saying, trust me, this, they're amazing. It's completely changed my life. Just do it. Having someone say that, it completely disarms them and says, okay, well, if it worked for him or it's good enough for her, I'm willing to give it a shot and at least hear you out because it's coming from a trusted source. So that's really important to understand before we get into this, because this is not the same kind of lead, especially when we get into how to value or what to make the offer. So many gym owners' initial reaction is to like, well, I'm giving too much away, or that's going to cost me money. It's like, dude, you couldn't get a better lead in. How much have you spent on a crappy Facebook ad lead to get someone in the door that doesn't know you, doesn't respect you, or have any idea of what you do, or have any social proof that they're using to help make a decision? So keep that in mind as we get into this here. All right, so let's get into what and how. So the first step is the structure, right? So how do you even structure a good referral program? And my philosophy on this is keep it simple. Because here's the reality, putting together something that is, the first person you refer, you get this. And if you refer more than 3, then you get this. Or if it's, X amount per quarter or carry the 5, dude, if they can't remember it the first time that you tell it to them and repeat it back to you, it's too complicated. It has to be simple. You explain it one time in one sentence and they go, oh, that makes sense. So it should be that simple. So the approach that we like to use, I call it give, get. So basically it's, hey, you as a member here at CrossFit Active Performance have the ability to gift $100 as an example towards any friends or family member that you think would be a good fit for our community. And guess what? If they join, then I'll give you $100 towards your next month as a thank you. Very simple for them to understand. Oh, I can give $100 to someone and then I get $100 back. Easy to understand. And the reason why this works is that you make it about being able to give something rather than it being the old like markety or salesy, hey, if you send me your friends and family, I'll pay you money. That doesn't feel good for most. Most people don't want to feel like it's an exchange. They want to do it because it feels good to them. And if there's a thank you on the back end of that, great. But it empowers them to feel good about, hey, I can do something good to help make this easier for my friend, because I know that when I first started, the cost seemed like a lot to me. And this way, you're able to give them power to say, hey, you know what? Because I'm a member here, I have the ability to hook you up, which makes them feel special, makes them feel important, especially to their friend, and is going to make it just all around feel better to both parties.
Yeah, this incentive is a great idea. And even if the math may seem like maybe $100 seems like a lot to you, also consider that referrals beget more referrals. So it's statistically shown, don't have the stat, can't find things ever when I need them, but people who come in through referrals are more likely to become that referee. So you create this cycle of people who are constantly offering to their friends based on the awesome experience that they've had, because they've already seen success with a referral that they've gotten proactive. So it just makes the sales process, or I don't even like to call it a sales process, like it is kind of a sales process in a way for them. It is kind of an uncomfortable thing to tell your friend, hey, you should really come to this thing, because you don't want to get, rejected. But when you see it happen successfully for the guy who did it for you, it kind of gives you a little bit more confidence. So it's a good, like, exponential sort of strategy, exponential growth strategy to have in your marketing plan here.
Yeah, no doubt. You brought up a really important point. A lot of people assume, or a lot of small business owners, gym owners, think that, because you're knocking it out of the park for your member, that they're just going to go and tell everyone. But here's the reality, is that maybe 10 or 15% of your member base are those natural promoters, leaders, salespeople who aren't afraid to go and be turned down and to go say something, hey, you should come and try this, and get a bunch of no's, and or talk people into it and overcome objections well enough to get someone to actually pull the trigger. Most people are afraid to sell. Most people are afraid to be told no or to be shot down. So even though they may love your service, they are still going to be hesitant to approach friends or family and say, hey, you should come and try this, when they're like, how much is it? Yeah, no, I've spent, $20 on my membership and I don't use that, and that doesn't work. And I've used personal trainers and enter all the bad experiences and failures they've had with fitness, and you're charging, 4 times as much as anything they've even thought about paying for. So really important, and we'll get into how to do this, that you don't want to have the members actually do the selling. We just want to let them do the thing that they can and actually want to do, which is just cheerlead. Make the introduction to you, and then they're like, hey, did you go in yet? How was your first class? Isn't it awesome? Like, hey, let's do a workout together. That's the part that everyone's good at. But the part of like asking someone to like, hey, come in, like, let me drag you in here, is a lot harder than we may think it is. So assuming that people are going to do that is really why most referral programs don't go anywhere, because you're just hoping that everyone's going to promote, because one time you had a member who brought you like 5 people, and you're like, great, if everyone just did that. Well, that's your one promoter. That's your one like natural salesperson who has no fear, who's just dragging people in. But how do we tap the other 90 to 85%?
So Marcus, on the topic of incentives and what that offer actually looks like, do you have a rule as to how much people could offer for this give and get? And does it need to be the same number?
I like to keep it the same number only because of that simplicity factor we talked about a minute ago, which is, give 50, get 50, give 100, get 100, like give a month, get a month, whatever it is. Making it easy like that to understand is important. But when we're talking about like what the value should be, I always try to look at what your membership dollar amount is. And my goal is that the gift, so whatever I'm giving, is going to be about 50% of what your gym membership is, or maybe slightly above. And the reason for that is that it makes it feel very substantial to the member, or to the potential new member, when it's like, hey, and because you were referred by Jessica, instead of your first month costing $200, she's actually able to put $100 towards your first month. So it's actually only going to cost you $100 to get started. Now it feels like, oh, well, that's a huge deal. That was awesome. Which is going to also put them into a place to come back to you and say, man, thanks so much for hooking me up, Jessica. That was killer. You took $100 off my first month. Thank you so much. Which is, again, something really good psychologically we want to have happen for the member. It's a feel good, like, oh, that worked, and I got a thank you, and I get to say I told you so, I knew you'd like it. It's all the things. So valuing it's something that like around 50% of that first month is proven to work very, very well. And we've implemented this, hundreds and hundreds of times.
Yeah. So now getting into when we should actually ask people to do this process, like asking people for a referral. Marketing, like general marketing best practices say, it kind of depends, right? You want the customer or your member to feel really good about your product right before you ask. So that's why sometimes you'll be using software or an app and they'll be like, how are you enjoying this app? And you usually close out of it. But that's because with apps and certain types of software and other experiences, they don't really know when you're really enjoying the product. So they just kind of like throw it out there, just hoping that something will stick. Luckily for us, we have a really good idea of when somebody who's brand new to CrossFit starts to feel really good about the process. And that's usually 6 months in from a new membership. And that goes as well for experienced athletes too. Just kind of like a good rule is when they start off at your gym 6 months later, they have a really good understanding of what the community is like. They have at least the ability to communicate this community aspect really well. And that's their main goal. If we were to ask them, hey, we would love a referral from you. We'll do the selling for you, which you can explain how that process goes in a bit. But your job is to explain the community, be a cheerleader, be positive, and we'll do the heavy lifting for you.
Exactly right. Yeah, it's the 6 month mark has proven to be the sweet spot. And we have applied this now to, I think, over 100,000 members in gyms all over the world. It is bananas. And the 6 month mark proves to work the best. And the reason is when we actually interviewed people was because people actually felt like they were a part of the community. They were no longer the newbie. They weren't going to be embarrassed when they brought their buddy in and they're like, hey, you've been here for 3 months and you still don't know the difference between a muscle snatch and a power snatch, or, you went the wrong direction and you put the wrong plates on, or you did the wrong movement. That's the fear that people have. So when people start something that is intimidating to them and they show up, which for, almost everyone who starts a program like what we offer in our boxes, they get into it. They're like, holy crap, I had no idea how little I knew and how much there is to learn. And I feel like every day I'm still figuring this out. But at the 6 month mark, they've gotten just enough of a lay of the land to where they feel comfortable, they know the routine, they know people, so they have buddies, so they feel like they're a part of the social circle. They're not going to look like an idiot when they do a workout with their buddy, and they're actually going to feel kind of cool. So that's a really important point. So the 6 month mark is when we want to actually go in for that initial ask. And to use your example for the app and getting the review piece, it's like you download the app and within like 3 minutes, it's like, how would you rate this app? It's like, I've opened it yet. Right. And that's what happens when, for example, someone signs up for your membership and you're like, hey, you want to bring in your friends and family? Like right away. Now you're going to have that 10, 15% who are like, oh yeah, I love it. I'm already a lifer and sure, I'll bring people in. But the majority are like, hell no, not until I make sure I'm not going to look like a fool in front of the people that I like normally hang out with. So no, I'm not. I'll say, oh yeah, sure, for sure I will. Yeah. They never do. Right. And now you've only associated fear to the referral. So there's some really easy ways that you can use tools and the like personal ask in combination. It's just a timing game to make it all work really well. So, the way that we do it I'll start with like the life cycle approach, because this is the most scalable way is, when you look at someone's, and remember the whole concept of a life cycle is looking at it as one long experience for your members, right? It's not these just segmented, it's a referral program, it's onboarding, it's upselling. It all needs to make sense, right? It all needs to play together. So using that 6 month rule, what we do, and this is all built into the platform, our system by default, we just customize it for the gym. But at the 6 month mark, it sends out a satisfaction survey. So you can put together a survey that you send out automatically at the 6 month mark that basically asks them a series of questions, one of which says, hey, how likely are you to refer us to your friends and family? Based on how they respond to that, it's going to either say, hey, I'm very likely to refer friends and family, and then it'll automatically remind them of the friends and family, or excuse me, of the refer a friend program that you offer. But if they say not very likely, it also actually sends a notification to the coach to say, hey, Jessica just gave you a crummy response to your satisfaction survey. You probably want to reach out to her. Right. So that's how the campaign works. But that's at the 6-month mark. What we do is we actually, right when they sign up, about 3 days in, we plant the seed. So it says like, hey, welcome, they're getting their welcome emails, they're getting that initial content, and it says, hey, by the way, we offer this great refer a friend program, and it breaks it down for them, and it allows them to take advantage of it right out of the gate, but most won't. The point is I'm not trying to get everyone to respond to that first one. I'm just planting the seed, and then I'm going to follow up with a personal reminder at the end of their onboarding, which we make part of our template or our communication template on the last day of onboarding, where we say, hey, you're going to be in our group classes, and ask questions and give them all the tips. Hey, and by the way, remember, we've got a really cool refer a friend program. So, you as a member here at CrossFit Active Performance have the ability to gift $100 towards any friends or family's first month here. And if they sign up, we give you $100 in exchange as a thank you. So if you ever want to do that, just, fill out the form on our website. We handle all the heavy lifting for you. You just do that one speech, one time in person to reinforce that email that they got, and then leave it alone. The promoters will do something about it. And then at the 6-month mark, when people have kind of probably forgotten about that, if they haven't just automatically done it, or it's, in your newsletter and whatnot, then when you have the survey and they're like, yes, I would totally do that. And then you immediately follow up with, great, well, here's our refer a friend program. Here's the link to do it. You start to see you're making sure that you're hitting every single person every single time, only at the sweet spots. And it's never salesy. It's never over the top.
It is so important to have automation set up for something like this so that you don't have people falling through the cracks, and it happens.
Yep.
You sleep. But another thing to remember is that this is also a great strategy to implement in person too. So if you have a member who has just achieved something like a muscle up, or hit a new PR that they've been working at for a really long time, just have that also, and enjoying that moment with them. Also remember in the back of your head that this is one of the best times of their CrossFit life. Like we all have these milestones. Use this as an opportunity to ask them for that referral. I mean, don't do it in a weird way where you're like, hey, PR, you want to bring in any friends and family, but ask them, like, how are you feeling about your experience here at the gym? Start that conversation, get them really excited about it. And this isn't manipulation, even though it's strategy. It's a step-by-step thing. What we're doing here is giving them the tools that they need to empower themselves to invite their friends and family in, which they do want.
Exactly.
And this is the perfect time for them to do it where they're feeling really, really jacked up about it.
Exactly right. I mean, they just hit a big milestone. They're feeling awesome. Hey, you just got your first pull-up or your first muscle-up. Congratulations. Amazing what you were able to do. Remember, you just started here 6 months ago and you're like, I've never done a pull-up in my life. That's never going to happen. Awesome. Good job. High five. And all you're doing is you're just reinforcing to them through your communication, like, see what you can do. Isn't this incredible? And just do it in your own way. Don't be cheesy. Don't whatever. Just celebrate it with them, but do it in a way to where they're acknowledging, like, holy crap, I did accomplish a lot. And you're right. I did say I couldn't do that. And here I am. And you're now reinforcing that. It may not be a dumb idea to a week later to send out to send them a text message or to send them, a one-off email saying, hey, remember, we've got a great refer a friend program. If you have any other friends or family who'd be interested, we'd love to have the opportunity to work with them as well. So
I kind of put you off there. We talked about, sending out the survey. So let's say that they send back a great response. What happens next?
I'm sorry, say that again.
After they fill out the survey and they've sent back a really good response, what happens next in your system?
So what happens is then the system is going to automatically flag them as a net promoter, and it's going to send them an email saying, hey, and this, I think it goes out 1 or 2 days later. It goes out right away and says, hey, and reminder, we have this great refer a friend program. Here's how it works. Here's the link to add as many friends and family as you like. There's no limit to how many you can do, because the refer a friend program is actually a form on our site that's built into the campaign architecture on the back end. But to the member, what this does is it basically just gives them a place where they can just start dumping in friends and family's info, and we are then going to follow up with them and say, hey, Jessica's a member here at our gym. She passed along your information, said that you may be interested in, checking out our training programs. And all you do when what we have in the messaging, it says, and make sure you let your friend know that you passed on their info so they don't think we're just spamming them. And you'd be surprised how well people respond to that when they're like, oh, I don't have to do the selling. oh, sweet. I just put their info in. I'm going to put like 10 people in. They're just now doing a numbers game because they know, great, maybe 2 of these 10 people actually do it and sign up. That's like a free month or, you know, whatever that breaks down to for you in their reward. So it's a really cool and kind of indirect, but I mean, systematic way to make sure that they get it. Ask them if they would do it. If they say yes, send them a reminder, give them the tool right there. One step, one click, and they're in. So pretty cool.
This is also a really great opportunity to rethink your incentives, and also remember the audience that you're speaking to. If somebody is being referred, and let's say that they are brand new to this style of fitness, to functional fitness and CrossFit, they are probably not used to a free week of training, you know, getting like personal training, getting coaching. They're used to just going to a Globo gym. So even if you use your primary free offer that you use all the time, even if it's just a free one-on-one personal training assessment, they're not used to that. And so that could seem like incentive enough to get these new members or get these referred people into your gym. But another option is to actually offer them something a little beefier than just your average, you know, offer that's on your website. It's important to remember that these leads are they're worth more than normal leads. So you can offer them more. They stay longer, right? They are already like a quick, easy sell if they're a good fit for your business. So even offering like a free month of training would still match the ROI. Like, yeah, I would suggest offering more at this stage.
Yeah, and here's the reason why. And again, if you're thinking like, man, why would I give anything away? We offer a premium service. We charge accordingly. Yes, understood. But here's what you have to remember is that once you get that new referred friend into class with their buddy, it's a done deal. So your goal is just to get them working out together. So how can I get them in and get as many sessions under their belt as quickly as possible? And that's where you can start playing around with this initial offer and maybe putting something separate together for them, and making sure that you're enabling that relationship to continue to grow inside your gym. So they're spending time together, doing things together in your gym. So putting something together that makes sure that they do that is key. One thing I wanted to bring up real quick on that note, you know, is remember guys, don't be short-sighted. You know, a general rule about the value is, yeah, or the way to look at this is, remember, this is about their lifetime value. This is not about 1 month, right? So if let's say, well, that's good, I'm out like $50 if I give them 100 and you know, they give $100 off and then I give this and I'm paying my coach, like I'm in the whole $50. Why would I do that? Why would I lose money? Because you're gaining someone who's worth thousands of dollars all alone, let alone the fact that if you knock it out of the park, guess what? They're going to refer friends and family. This person's worth $4, $5, $6, $10,000 to you. How much would you spend to get $10,000? I would spend a lot. I would spend a lot of that, right? To get someone in who I know is going to be another promoter. And again, remember the referrals are the best quality leads. So don't be short-sighted when you're putting this together. Put together something that's going to be appealing to them, that's going to get them integrated, that they're going to be excited to take advantage of, and make sure that they get working out with their buddies.
In addition to the monetary incentives, there are also a lot of great free things that you can do. We talked about this on the onboarding program with the certificates. People love handwritten stuff. You know, we just kind of live in this world where a lot of things are automated, which is amazing. You know, it's super helpful for business, but it doesn't take the place of again, has to be strategic because you don't want to offer something to someone and not give it to the next person. You know, right. So all this really needs to be written down in your SOPs, but offering a handwritten thank you to the person who referred someone, whether that person, you know, became a member or not, that would be a really nice thing to do. And if they did become a member, you know, investing an extra $5-10 in a Starbucks card, which I know you guys did at Active, which I thought was really sweet.
Yeah, that was, you know, the way that we looked at it was, okay, we have this refer a friend program. Let's say give 100, get 100. We have the automated tools in place, make sure the right people see it at the right times, make it easy for members to refer people and put together a great offer. But after all is said and done, I wanted to make sure this still felt really personal. So what we did is we kept a stack of thank you notes and a stack of $10 Starbucks cards at the front desk. And as soon as someone converted who was a referred person, I would grab a card and write, Jessica, thank you so much for referring Steve. He's up and running on the program and it's all thanks to you. You're amazing. XOXO, Coach Marcus. And I would pop a $10 Starbucks card in there. And then next time I saw you, I would just walk up to you and say, hey, thank you so much for referring Steve. He's killing it. It's all thanks to you. You're the best. And just put that in your hand and walk away. You're going to open it up and be like, oh, a Prezi. And you open it up and there's a handwritten note with a little, again, surprise in there. You just psychologically like had all of your boxes checked, right? Someone who you respect and look up to, the coach or the owner of the gym, went out of their way to write a handwritten note, give you something unexpected, said thank you to you, made eye contact, and acknowledged something that you did for them. Now, how much more likely were you to refer friends and family after going through that experience? I took the sales process off of your shoulders. I allowed you just to cheerlead. It worked because your buddy actually signed up because it was a good deal. You got a $100 towards your next month plus a handwritten note and a little Starbucks card. You feel like $1,000,000. You're encouraging good behavior. You're conditioning your members to say, wow, that was a really nice experience for me. Like, who else can I refer? And now you start that snowball effect, which over time is really what drives the majority of the business. In a perfect world, the bulk of your leads are coming from your existing member base. Yes, we want to advertise and market strategically around, getting more of the right people in, and that's a whole nother conversation. But our bread and butter, our core, our business should be able to run and grow off of just that alone if you're doing it right. If your gym is not currently at least maintaining, if not growing based on that alone, you are not doing this as well as you can and should maybe reevaluate your whole perspective on how you're managing your referrals.
Definitely. Another awesome thing to think about in this process is how your members really want to contribute in some way. And so in addition to getting all of these great perks, it would be great to acknowledge them publicly, because in altruism, there is that aspect of recognition that kind of fuels it to, get people to act a little bit more. So this really is a win-win-win for everybody. It's a win for your member who's getting a deal on their next month. It's a win for them as well because they get to work out with their friend. It's a win for their friend because they get a deal, and it's a win for you because you now have somebody who is contributing in a way where they may not have known where they fit into that whole ecosystem before.
100%. And people, by the way, who refer other people and it works, like they're now the one who brought 5 people in, those are also statistically the people who last the longest, because they not only do they feel like they're a part of it, but they feel like it's almost like partially theirs. They feel like they're part of this community is here because of them, and they socially are feeling higher up in a sense because they're like, I brought all these people in, and these are all, it's like I have my whole family, I have half of my coworkers in here, and it does something to them where they feel like, well, now I have to stay here. I'm going to be here. I want to make sure I kind of stay as the leader of this little subgroup. So important to acknowledge that. One more thing I wanted to address, because this is a question we always get, and then we'll open it up to any questions if there's anyone who wants to fire anything off. By the way, go ahead and start typing it in the comments now. Totally meant to mention that in the beginning of the show. If you're watching this live, put any questions you have for Jessica or myself into the comments below. We're happy to answer them for you here at the end of the show. And if you're watching this after the fact and it's no longer live, just tag Jessica or myself in your question in the comments below. We're happy to answer them for you whenever that happens to be. But how to deal with surprise referrals. So an existing member just shows up to your 4:30 class and unannounced brings a buddy with them and is like, hey, I brought so-and-so with me today. Is that cool? She wanted to try it out, and so I brought her along. They think that's a good thing. And yes, them bringing someone in is a good thing. The challenge is you probably have a sales process and maybe some sort of movement assessment or an on-ramp program to make sure you're able to address any issues they may have or limitations they may have and explain what we do and intensity versus duration. And there's a lot of kind of groundwork we typically lay before we just let someone jump into the workout of the day, let alone the fact, what if today is something that's not really appropriate or doesn't have context for them yet? Like for your existing member base, they understand, we're doing snatch balances today and Turkish get-ups. And someone new is like, what are you guys doing? This is weird. It's awkward. How are you getting fit? It doesn't make a lot of sense. Not to mention, you're going to have to scale and explain the crap out of what's going on, which is going to detract from your class. So how do you handle that? Now, the way that I address this typically is I say, well, it depends on how good your coach is. If your coach is good enough to where they can manage it and it's appropriate, hopefully that's always the case, or almost always the case, then what I will usually say is to say, you know what, typically I want to be able to meet with you one-on-one, and that way I can actually get to know you. I want to actually take you through a workout. That way I can see you move, and kind of explain what we do and how it works. Since you're already here today, I'm going to let you jump into the class. I'm going to modify the workout for you, and we're going to, I want you to be here, and we're going to talk about this. Don't worry. We're going to take care of you. If you don't understand what something means, we're here to take care of you, give you a great workout. But then after the fact, if you had a good time, I'd love to schedule an intro with you. And so you're basically saying, I'll let you into this class, and here's how it's going to work. And then we're going to go to the top of the sales process and walk you through the whole thing, which is most of the time going to work just fine. Now, if you're looking at it and you're like, man, this is like my newest coach, or this probably isn't a great idea, then sometimes you may have to do the harder thing and say, you know what, we have a whole onboarding program to make sure we can get you ready for our classes. But you typically want to avoid that. The best thing to do would be to just say, how can I kind of dummy proof this workout and just make it fun as easily as possible to get them in and then tee them up for the sale rather than turning them away. So some people are a little bit more hard nosed on that, and they're very eager to just be like, nope, you go through my process and you got to do an intro. I get it. But remember, that referring member is never going to bring someone in again. You just shut them down and embarrass them in front of someone that they brought in. Never going to happen again. And you could have had someone who was a fantastic promoter of your business. So just be smart about that. Tell them, set the expectation, scale it. If it's like you're looking at this and you're like, dude, we're doing Murph, like this, I'm going to have you do, you're going to be on this bike. You're going to do some squats. You're going to do some ring rows, some push-ups. It's going to be real easy. I'll get you set up in a matter of 3 minutes. Just follow along, nod your head yes. Before I say go, I'll come over and I'll tell you what to do. Fair? Good. Then we're going to do an intro. Got it? Great. Done deal.
So I know that this is a lot of information, guys. Luckily, we have a guide that you can download. I'll post that after the show.
Yes. Thank you, Jessica.
It basically has some swipe files. So some ideas on what you could say for a handwritten note. Of course, edit it to what sounds like you. It's a nice guide. We also have an email that you can send somewhere in the process, and also all of our steps. I also threw in a bonus there, something that I think is important anytime you are writing for your website or for emails or anything. A lot of times people have a really odd way of communicating when it comes to written form. Like they just don't sound like themselves. And so this is, I think it's like 5 to 7 tips on how you can sound like yourself when you're writing. So it's like really simple rules, watching pronouns, using conjugations and things like that.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. So if you're watching this, you can just follow the link back. It'll either be in the comment or the message for this episode if you're watching this on Facebook Live, or if you're watching this on YouTube, just follow the link below and it'll take you right to it. And by the way, we're going to have detailed show notes that'll be coming out as well, so you can follow along with this. The whole show is spelled out for you, all courtesy of Jessica. So real quick, we're running out of time here today, so I have one thing here from Aaron Crocker. I'm going to bring this in to here. Let's see if we can get that to work. Hey, Aaron, we're all kind of blocked here on the screen. But basically, it says, our referral incentive is even more. We encourage our gym clients to give to give the gym member a free month for every referral who joins. So if the monthly fee is $250, the member gets a month free. If they bring in 5 new referrals, they get 5 months free. We even had a gym member not pay membership fee for 16 months. We'll trade 1 month for 6 to 12 months every day of the week. We've also tested giving the referred clients a free month as well. Yeah, very good. Aaron, that's exactly right. That's how this whole thing really works, because you'll tap into those people. And we actually had a handful of people like this at my gym as well, who were just like, wait a minute. They do the math and they say, so that means every person I bring in, I get 50% off a month or a free month for it. And it turns into a game where they're like, how about can I have a 6-month free membership? It's like, bring in 6 people or whatever the math is for you. And yeah, you can train for free. And when you're introducing your referral program, like for example, in your newsletter, which by the way, you should have a little banner that's in your newsletter that's constantly going out, I would change the language on that. Don't just keep the same static, graphic or language in that block. Change it around. Say, it could be, give 100, get 100. And then the next it's like, hey, want to train for free or want a free membership? Click here. So that you're tapping into the people who are thinking differently about this. Because then the person who's like, free membership, I like free memberships. They click through and they're like, oh, every person I refer basically washes out my month's membership. Now it's the game, right? So game on. So awesome. Thanks for sharing, Aaron. Jess, anything you want to add before we shut it down today?
It could be helpful if you guys wanted to get fancy and figure out really what the extent of what you could offer and your incentives, to track your leads and your lead source. So everybody that comes in, find out how they, heard of you, track that, and then track how long they stay members for, and, multiply that number of months by your average monthly membership, and then you'll get their LTV, their lifetime value. Mm-hmm. And from that number, you can find out, use the number of total, how many referral leads came in, and then use the number of referral leads that became members. And with that equation, you can find out exactly what each lead is worth. So you could end up offering $500 or something to, this referral program and still be making a ton of money because you've kept that data.
Beautiful. Very good. Okay, cool. Well then, on that note, let's go ahead and wrap it up. So thank you for joining us. Show notes with the full breakdown of what we discussed today will be available next week. If this is your first episode, be sure to like, follow, comment, subscribe, etc. We have a new episode every week, and so be sure to join us again next week. Also, be sure to join our private Facebook group, The Network. This is our online community for the motivated gym owners of the world, where we give you get free access to not only tons of free resources and other amazing gym owners and great discussions that they're having, but you also get access to our highly experienced team of business coaches, and they are there to help answer questions, give you feedback to help you build your business. And the best part is the network is totally free to be a part of. You just have to agree to not suck and not try to promote in the group. And that's pretty much it. Just search The Network by Gymwright on Facebook and on Facebook, and we'll pop right up. So thanks again. We'll see you again next week. And that's a wrap.